Sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. All right, everyone. Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. I hope you're doing well. And we are here for a very special, amazing interview with one Miss Lido Pimienta, a Toronto songwriter, producer, musician of many stripes. And I'm just excited to talk with her. She just dropped a record this year, Miss Colombia, via Anti Records. We had lots of nice things to say about it over on the main YouTube channel. And I'm just excited to pick Lido's brain. I am just pleased that she decided to take the time to allow me to do that. The first thing I wanted to ask you is, in a very flattering photo layout that I am exposed to on a regular basis because I often use WeTransfer to send files. I have been told that you're a divine creator, okay?
Yep.
And that you're paving the way, that you're the mother of all that is holy, and that you're a mold breaker. You know, at this point in your career, with what you're creating, with what you're making, and the vision, the assumptions that people have of you from seeing your work and seeing you and seeing what you do you feel like a pioneer right now in the modern music age?
Again, let's go back to what I said before. The bar is set in hell.
So you think it's a matter of low expectations?
I mean, I think that I am very average.
Uh-huh.
That the problem is that, I mean, this is a larger issue, right? Like, I've been in this game for almost 10 years, okay? And I've always done things that I find nice. And like, I've never had an agenda to be like anything more than like a MySpace avatar. But I like, as in an accident, like I feel like it's been an accident, like my career in music, you know, like even with La Papesa, the music that I made for that album was so that it would accompany a deck of cards that I had designed. It wasn't even about, I need to make the best record in Canada. And then because I got money from the government to do it, and I had to put it online, I put it online because then the government was going to get that money back. So I was like, oh, snap. So I had to put it online and I had to put their logo on. And I put it out when I was already in Chile working on Miss Colombia, again, because I wanted, again, like when I do stuff, I just see it as a full on project. You know, like I don't think in terms of singles. I don't think in terms of, I still don't understand the ins and outs of how things work. Like I just know to make art, you know, and I think that because I do everything with intention and like everything has a clear point of view and narrative, then people attach those things to me. Like she's wonderful, she's magical, and all this stuff. And of course, I recognize that I am amazing, you know. But even recognizing that myself, it gets people mad, you know. But that's another conversation. But I feel like that's it, you know. I feel like I don't get to be mediocre, you know. I don't get to roll out of bed and then pick up my bass or pick up a guitar and sing while I'm smoking. So I don't get to, because immediately the connotations start like popping up. It's just like, oh, of course she didn't even bother to brush her hair. Oh, of course she's smoking, you know, because it's like there's so like I'm, you know, like I'm Latin and I have kids and I'm young. It's like, oh, of course you have kids, you know, like. So I try to not let any of that toxic energy like get to me. So I'm like, no, I am amazing and I want to make my art. And if someone beyond my sister and my mom and my grandma listen to it, well, that's wonderful. So everything that's happened with Miss Colombia, it's a clear example of what happens when I set my mind and I'm like, actually, I don't want this album to be an accident like the last one. And I think that's why people they love it. And WeTransfer, you know, it's so wonderful, you know, because then you have like exes that treated you badly being like, oh, I saw you when WeTransfer. Sorry.
What a billboard for the internet to just be on. It's like, you know, you could be on a Spotify playlist, top pick, you could be best new music on Pitchfork, or you could be on the front of WeTransfer.com, you know?
Yeah.
and which again, I think is a huge exposure point.
out of all of those, which one's the best one? To me, it's WeTransfer, you know, because I feel like they are really backing up like artists, and like all the whole interface is so interesting. And I always scroll through the artists that they're doing. So for me, it was a great honor. Yeah.
Honestly, at this point, it's probably going to do more for you than a Fantano review. So, I mean, it's like, you know, all the praise in the world to them and to you. But, you know, despite your comment on the supposed mediocrity, I mean, I can't, and maybe this is as a result of ignorance, you tell me, I can't name like a dozen artists, or I can't name like artists on my fingers and toes that sound exactly like you right now, you know? While I understand this digital cumbia label, and you can tell me if you personally identify with that as an artist that has been kind of bestowed upon you by a lot of the music media, while I understand that term and that sound kind of goes decades back, it is something that kind of you're bringing to the forefront in a way that very few artists are right now.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel like it seems like I'm the one that's doing it only because of the extra visibility that I get, you know. But if you go and you dive into Colombian music, and I'm not talking purely traditional or the mainstream, which is completely different and on a different realm of non-reality, we are making very experimental music, and we are mixing, you know, avoiding the term rescuing, because a lot of the music that I put out that has this like cadencia or these ritmos, people are like, oh, she's rescuing traditional Colombian music. And I'm like, I'm not rescuing anything. Like, it's my culture. So like when it comes to making music, that's what I know, you know? And I also don't use these rhythms as decoration, you know? So when you give this kind of music the reverence that they deserve, you know, like I've never, you know, and this might be like bad to say, especially on your platform, which is huge.
Don't get me in trouble. Don't get me in trouble.
Don't get me in trouble, but like I've never heard a full album from the Beatles, for example. Like I heard like a couple of songs in the radio in like a taxi from like a hotel to an airport. But I don't know any Beatles song. I don't know any Rolling Stones songs, you know. So like to me, you know, those bands are held up to such like reverence and like, oh, and I remember like in the 90s, it was like Oasis, and like I never got it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I was like, I don't understand. But when I listen to Secreto Tabala, when I listen to, you know, all the like Joey Arroyo and like the Colombian supers, like to me, that's like, you know, like Justin Bieber could like, he could like ride this train with me, you know, and I'll be like, but like if Joey Arroyo, you know what I'm saying, or any traditional musician in anywhere in the African Latin diaspora, like I would lose my mind, you know. So I feel like if anything, what I'm doing is just showing how amazing and how cool that music is, and that it doesn't really need to. We don't really need to add any like beats or whatever to it. Like remixes are cool, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna like rescue the music and like put it on different whatever, like dumb it down. I feel like there's so many artists and producers that like dumb down the songs and like, well, we just want to present it to people now. And it's just like, it doesn't need to, like that music doesn't need any help, especially not from like a white Ecuadorian. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, that's what I'm trying to get at. It's just like, we need to stop like wrapping up traditional music, you know, in like a shiny, sterilized package that is going to be sold to people that will stop there, right? Like I want to present it, you know, with Nifty, right? Like we went to Palenque, you know, like it wasn't like, oh, can you record yourself? And no. We went there, we brought the gear, and we were in their turf. Like we were in their territory, and we did things their way. And that's why, you know, it sounds the way that it sounds. You know, it's like it takes you out of the narrative of like the synths and the bass and the whatever, because it's just pure straight like it is. And it's hypnotic, you know. So for me, that's a real trance music. People talk about trance. I'm like, boy, go to Colombia, go to any festival by Black and Indigenous people, and you will know trance music, baby.
Since we're kind of already on the topic, and this is basically a hop, skip, and a jump away, while it is true, and I do appreciate that about your record, and I praise this about the record, there is music that is just pretty much like raw, unfiltered, indigenous Colombian music on the record. But then, as we were just kind of playing before we got into the interview, you have plenty of tracks on there like Nada, where it is altered in a way. There are sort of more contemporary or I wouldn't even say more Western elements, but just elements that are going to appeal to even an international, but still like a more contemporary pop audience. You know what I mean? But still, it's like, as you say, when I do hear a lot of music that is sometimes marketed as being like, oh, this is like so worldly, or it's international, or it's this, or it's that, it's like I could think of 10 other artists that are just kind of like ripping off the same kind of watered down thing. I mean, like especially in a lot of trap productions today and artists that tend to kind of go down that road. I mean, I can't tell you how much like reverby, gentrified dance hall I hear all freaking day that feels so far removed from like all of the old stuff and the classic beats and sounds. Mm-hmm. But in what you're doing, you very much maintain the spirit of that while adding, those elements and adding those touches that, clearly sound like they could have come off of like a Bjork record or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if I'm like, I am going to do an album of only the drums of my people. That's like, that is strange because I live in Toronto. I'm an internet kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, I grew up in the 90s, you know what I'm saying? And I consume a lot of electronic music, like still my favorite music is, metal, so it's like, it has to, and when I think about, okay, when I perform it, I'm not going to be able to bring like a full on ensemble from Colombia, I would love to, but visas, the visa situation is really hard, so it's like, okay, like I want to do something that I can manage when it comes to live, and also I never know how I'm going to perform the music. And sometimes I don't want a band. Sometimes I just want to be me with my gear. And it's nice to be able to just like trigger stuff with samplers and stuff like that, so electronic music to me came to me as a necessity, like I moved to Canada. I had no friends in Colombia. I had bands. I had punk bands and metal bands and hardcore bands and traditional music bands and electronic. Like I did all this stuff. Like actually my first show, I was like 11 years old, so I can't just be like, I am going to do an album of the diaspora, like so many people actually fail into that trap. And it's just like, yeah, the diaspora from where, boo-boo? Like where? Like saying diaspora is very vague, so it's like, no, like I'm going to be true to myself. I grew up with this rhythm. So I just naturally have it in me, it's like, I don't have to like wear a traditional Colombian, I don't got to do it. It's just like, you look at me, you hear my, and this girl, she's from somewhere over there, and that's enough, like you don't got to push either, but you definitely don't need to use people and use culture and use rhythms as decoration. And on top of that, get the coins and not give it back to the community, because that community is starving and that community needs a lot of help and support.
All right. Time. Things went in a direction I didn't expect for a second. Something that the chat reacted to too. You have to tell us how much of a fucking metalhead you are, okay? Like, not to prove anything, but that excites all of us, okay? That's exciting to us. So it's like, throw the horns up and tell us some good ass metal picks.
Well, my absolute favorite, and I hope that they get their shit together soon, is Fear Factory.
Yes.
So they're nice. My absolute favorite. I actually, I said, it's like, well, if I put Miss Colombia out and people don't like it, that's it. I'm going to like drop my Lido Pimienta project and I'm going to start a Fear Factory cover band. And I actually had my friends and everyone lined up because it's like, and actually like the way that this guy like sings, like it influenced me a lot, because if you notice, like I do a lot of like, and then I go, which to me, that's Fear Factory right there.
Okay.
That's Fear.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, I was a semi fan. I loved Obsolete. The one I think
Yeah,
has like the brain and like the spine on the front with kind of the brownish cover. That album is heavy as
it's
hell.
yeah. I mean, all of them, like Remanufacture, Demanufacture, like all of the everything, just very epic, very beautiful, and like a really interesting way of like talking about like technology and how technology is gonna take over, and
Yeah, and that's the thing as well.
I mean, I was like 12, when I was listening to these musics, and I was like the weirdo. And I went to this like private school, which was actually called Lyndon B. Johnson School. And we weren't allowed to speak Spanish. And everybody looked like, came out of an ad on Sears in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? So like I was a weirdo. And on top of that, while everyone is like, if you want to be my lover, I'm like, life is obsolete, and I how to do guttural. And like actually like my first show that I had, that was all I was doing. I was going because I wanted to be Danny Filth from Created of Filth, which is absolutely love that, like Sepultura, they've been like huge influence, like when I'm on stage, huge.
One of the best thrash bands for sure.
Yeah, 6 Feet Under, Deepu Burger, like I that stuff, and like of course, out of all the like the Corn and like Limp Bizkit and all, which I loved all that stuff. Like Kitty
was
me,
the shit.
I would love. I don't know what we're gonna do, but I need to do a song with Kitty. Like I think that they have influenced me so much. And actually, when I did like my first album like 10 years ago, there was like a like some award show in London, Ontario. And I was a contestant in some whatever, and they played there, and I was like, oh, I met Kitty, and I was like, I need to be friends with them, but then I got pregnant, and but by choice, I wanted my baby. I was just a little cuckoo when I had my son. I love metal. Like to me, and when I'm on and people always say that it's just like I had such a reaction when I went to your show. Like you have people that are like wilding out, people that are crying. Like it's a lot of emotion, and I think that because from such an early age, I was able to channel all of this singing through guttural, and that I can do guttural, and jump from guttural to like alto soprano and all this stuff, and like runs and stuff that I do. Like it gave me all the training that I needed, to be a performance artist. And I still feel like I'm more of a performance artist than I'm a recording artist. I'm still learning the etiquette behind this, and the etiquette behind like music and like the music industry, and how the music industry is really, and you're a proof of that. It's just like the internet and the music industry is just like, it all just like meshes in this like porridge, with just oatmeal of despair and depression and and desperation.
It's inseparable at this point. Let me ask you really quickly before I ask you some more questions about sort of the music scene over here, but really quickly I wanted to know as far as the Colombian music scene that you were referencing earlier, and you were talking about how the mainstream is sort of like its own thing. Like, are there consistent connections between what you would say is the mainstream in Colombian music and the indigenous scene, or is it far removed, sort of even in that context?
Indigenous people have no space, no platform, unless there's this artist. I'm not even gonna say his name because I don't want their stance to like come for me and tell me to kill myself.
There's so much beef following you.
I don't even know. Like I feel like like my degree in life, like from school, is art critic and curatorial, right? So I am in music by accident, and I am a visual artist and like ceramist and textile and do all the stuff that I do. Music, I need people to understand, music to me is like one of the things that I do. So when I get attention for it and people are like so pressed about whatever I say, I'm as surprised as anyone else, because I consume pop culture and I think it's amazing. Like I think it's delicious. Like whenever there's anything that the Kardashians do, I'm gonna be there. Any scandal that I'm gonna be there, because it's like, it's exciting. Also, as a beautiful child of the internet, I have more friends online than I have IRL. And I also have children. So when I get an hour to myself, the girl has a lot to say that I've been trying to say, but I had to wipe my daughter's butt, you know? So when I write it, I do it with such excitement that I had time for myself. So when you read it, it's like, this girl is so pressed right now. And I'm just like, no, I'm like over here eating popcorn, watching Miyazaki films with my kids. Like, I'm okay. But to answer your question, like Colombian superstar music, you know, urbano, trap, whatever, so many names that they want to give to that, has nothing to do with indigenous music unless they take a model who isn't indigenous and they dress her up in the trappings of indigenous garments for the world to think that you care about them. But we all know, like, people are really smart, like, and we call it out, like, yeah. I mean, it's really nice to be bilingual and have, like, be in different places at the same time, because, you know, the juice and the gossip is just...
Well, I'm going to have to come back to the art critic thing later, but, you know, as we're kind of going off of this topic, you know, and I know that you and I are around the same age, and, you know, we both grew up in North America, you know, for a good part anyway, and are pretty well exposed to the pop scene over here. And while I know that, you know, your roots and knowledge of Latin music back home and in the mainstream too probably run deeper than mine, I can say it seems like its prominence, even if, you know, we're not talking about like indigenous representation here, but generally, even if we are talking about like a slightly kind of commercialized version, it seems like its prominence in the mainstream is becoming much more consistent, because I remember as a kid, every few years or so, every decade, there'd be like a Latin craze, which would be like sparked by a single or two or a few new artists, and they'd kind of trot them out and they'd be relevant for a few years, and then they'd go on like, you know, reunion tours. Yeah, exactly. But these days it sort of seems like it's so consistent, it's just not going anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, it's because second and third generation are being born in the USA and are being born in Europe. And Latin America has always been there, you know? So Spanish, the language, is normalized. That's all that has happened, you know? And once a rhythm or a dembow rhythm or a reggaeton rhythm gets exposure, it's over. Like, it's over. No one had the chance to be saved from this rhythm. Like, that rhythm is so epic. Like, that rhythm will make your grandmother shake her butt, you know? So, of course, you know, like, I grew up with Tego Calderon, you know, like, that's, to me, that's, when people say reggaeton, that's what I think about, or Don Omar, or Ivy Queen. Like, those are the main, like, the top three that I listen to are those people. Anything that's happening now, I don't really think that it's called reggaeton. I think that it has reggaeton elements, but that it has been very sterilized for mainstream music. You know, it's not a diss, it's a fact. So also it has been extremely whitewashed, you know, and like it's really interesting too, because like, I think that people in the USA don't believe that there are Black people in South America. But I also attribute that to the fact that like the Latin people that get like mainstream exposure in media are people like Sofia Vergara. And Sofia Vergara is a white Colombian, you know. So I think that's where the confusion comes from, you know. So, and then there's this urge to make the money. So if you want to make the money, then you have to put people out there that are going to, you know, make you that coin, and that are not going to question or easily bring, you know, the rhythms and their story as a surviving story, or like a story of like, yeah, like I come from the streets and like da 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 da. Like, that's not cool. Like it's good if you tell it to us, like, and that we can like decorate it and like put bows around it, and then we can sell it, you know, and just like, yeah, like, let's glorify you being in jail, you know, but let's not actually go deep into these issues that are happening to like Black and brown South Americans, Central Americans, you know, aided by USA supremacy, you know, in the world, you know. So it's like I feel like what happens in like Latin trap in the mainstream is what is as far as we can go. And then people like me or people like, I don't know, Camila Moreno or like Anita Tijoux, you know, like we get to a point, you know, but we're never going to go to that upper echelon of someone like those like huge names, because we're not out here promoting a fashion brand, right? Like we're here promoting, you know, indigenous sovereignty and food sovereignty and water rights, you know, and like that's not sexy, you know. And like it would be weird if, I mean, I sometimes I think about it. It's just like I should like my uncle is a plastic surgeon. Like what's stopping me from going and getting like, you know what I'm saying, going from this to like this, you know, and like reduce myself to like half of me. Instead of like singing like a singer, talk like I talk, just start talking like this, you know, in this voice, and maybe give myself an accent like this so I can be like a good Latina for you, you know, papi. And all my songs are like, papi, papi, dámelo, papi, papi. I would be a millionaire by next year. But I cannot keep up with the lie because I love to eat. You know what I'm saying? So like, and I feel like there's something to say about it. Not like they're like complete victims of the music industry, but like imagine being like a huge name in that genre and not being able to like have cellulite. That's almost tragic too, you know? So like they're all suffering like, oh my God, it's like so hard, you know, like I really feel for them. But yeah, going back to your question, those worlds do not cross. Like once you make it to that level of like having 30 million, 40 million, 50 million followers, you know, whew, like that's like, I can even imagine having 100,000 followers, like let alone a million, let alone 50 million. Like,
give it time. The first, you know, this is your breakout. It's breaking out. It's popping off. Just give it time.
I don't, but also, there's also a part of me that's just like, and so what, you know? Because if the 50 million followers, if I got $1 for every follower, I would be like, oh baby, let's get to the 40 million. But like that's not how it works. So people need to also remember that, you know, it's just like you need to be a billboard for someone else's brand so that you can have a brand. And like I can't do that, you know. I wish, and my mother wishes, my mother, who's if it was up to my mom, I would dress like J-Lo. And she tells me she calls me every day, oh, I saw your interview and da 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 da. Why were you wearing that oversized shirt again? And I'm like, Mom, that's how I like to dress. It's like, if I was like you, I would just walk with the tight pants. And I'm like, Mom, you already do it. So live your truth. Like, that doesn't have to be me. Bye.
So, okay. So, I mean, you very well illustrated. There's a vast separation between these two worlds. But still, even with this kind of being a growing presence on the mainstream scene in general, do you, in any way personally or artistically, feel encouraged by that in any way? Because do you feel like it gives you at least a little bit more space to grow or present your ideas in a context that where people might be more liable to take on to them, or, you know, just like accept them or think that hey, this is music I want to listen to? Because I mean, you know, while your music is, you know, it's on Anti, it's being talked about in the indie space. I mean, even the indie space traditionally is a pretty like white dominated space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, your girl is trapped. What is I wake up and I don't know who I am or where I'm going. You know, it's like it's very confusing. You know, like going to my show and I'm looking in the audience and I'm like, can I please get the 5 brown people here to the front? And then that makes it to fucking Alex Jones, and he's like bringing all the Ku Klux Klan and to tell me to kill myself. You know,
are you having crossovers with InfoWars too?
Oh, he did a whole show about me.
Wow.
a whole show about, I mean, you Google it up, you'll see like so many YouTubers being like, what is Lido Pimienta's net worth?
Okay.
She's a reverse racist. So she's like, oh, I can laugh about it now, but like, trust, like when it was going down, it was like, whew, to like go to Europe and not being able to tell people that you're there, or to like go be on tour and having to like hire security because like white supremacist groups in Canada are like sending you messages saying like, oh, we're gonna be there and we're gonna boycott your show. You know, it's like,
wait, they'll be there, but they'll boycott it.
Yeah, they're gonna boycott it with like gel on their hair and like polo shirts and khakis. Like, I don't know. But yeah, it's like, it's like anything that I do in music that gets heard beyond my grandmother, it's a blessing, but it's also a little bit of a curse, because I find that, I mean, when I got attention, I got it too early. Like that definitely happened. So I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah, but before you go on, that's definitely like my next question that I wanted to ask you. You know, when we're talking about the Polaris Music Prize 2017, La Papesa, the award and everything, and getting that at a point where it's like, you know, you obviously weren't the most popular artist in the category, you know, and that brought a lot of attention onto you, you know, both positive and negative. And how exactly did you kind of like manage that?
I mean, I just wanted to go there and have my show well documented. That is all I wanted. So when I was on stage, our monitors were off, and I still stand by it. I think that they did it on purpose. We couldn't hear ourselves, so it was like very excruciating 15 minutes of performing. We pulled it off, and then I won. And my speech was just like, ah! Like, because I was so mad that I didn't even get to enjoy like getting that check, you know? But then stuff that happened afterwards, I feel like it was nice, you know, like it was nice. Like we went to Iceland and we went to like Europe, and like we went all over in the USA, you know, and it was like people just being like, about time, girl, like we've been listening to you. And like going back to that question about like, do you think that it's like nice that this like Spanish speaking people are like doing the thing, you know, even though I'm not in that genre, that it's helping me in any type of way. Like, you know, if I want to get cocky about it or cocky with it, like I feel like it's artists like me, you know, and like Natalia Lafourcade and like Julieta Venegas before us, you know, like these artists, you know, were and continue to be huge in South America. You know, it's like, so the fact that, you know, this new wave of music in Spanish is like establishing, and so like, you know, with such big claws, and like their grip and their hold on this music industry is so strong and powerful, you know, it's because Natalia Lafourcade was there first. And Julieta Venegas was there first, you know. Celia Cruz did it before any of them, you know. And like I was talking about this with my friend Liliana from Bomba Estéreo, who, you know, they forged the way for a lot of these bands, you know, like they did stuff that none of these like bands that are or groups or solo whatever mainstream music are doing. You know, Bomba Estéreo was there, you know, and like Liliana was saying, like, you know, it's so strange, you know, like we've been to the Jean-Paul Gaultier show, we've been to the David Bowie like museum show with all his outfits and like the costumes, and it's beautiful, but it's like we need to see the Celia Cruz one. And I feel like if we see a Celia Cruz one, like it would demolish, like it would destroy any of this like the shows, you know. But she was a Black Cuban woman, you know, and like she was old and like she wasn't sexy, so we're not gonna go. But like Celia Cruz, you know, like those people, there'd be nothing without Celia Cruz. Like she made it. She came from Cuba, she established herself, and she really opened, like made people like, okay, like this is what we need, you know. And I think that everything also goes in cycles, you know. And you know, like I remember like 1999, like 99 to, like I remember those years like very fondly. Like it was like Britney, but it was like weird, strange, because it was like Britney and Radiohead, where sharing slots on the Billboard charts, whatever. Like, it was really strange, So I'm just like, what a time to be alive. That you can, like, do a choreography by Britney and cry yourself to sleep with Tom York, So, and that era, like 9 Inch Nails, like we remember when 9 Inch Nails was the top artist with a song like, I want to F you like an animal and feel you from the inside,
When I was a kid, honest to God, that music video gave me nightmares when I was a kid.
It did not give me nightmares because I'm a badass forever.
Yes.
But it was such a swell, like, Tool, remember?
Yeah,
Remember when A Perfect Circle was a pop band?
I remember Tool very vividly because I just reviewed their new record and the fans were pissed. I wasn't crazy about it.
Why were they, people, Tool, or what is it? James Keenan, what does his
Maynard.
Maynard is not paying your rent or buying your groceries. You should not be too pressed about what this guy is saying about it. Like, why? But anyways, I guess every click helps. So yes, Fantano, how dare you?
I want to say really quickly that we're going to be fielding some audience questions, filtered audience questions, of course, for Lido, for some fans in chat to ask her some stuff, and I'll be throwing a few of those at you in a second. But before I do that, and I feel like you just had so many amazing things to say, and I could have asked you so many more things, and I'm sure the audience will ask you some great stuff too. But I wanted to ask you about the art and music critic stuff. That you had talked about earlier. If this whole music thing doesn't end up panning out, are you going to come work with me? Are you going to be my competition? Are you going to get on camera and be like, listen, the new Kanye sucks, and here's why, and essentially put me out of a business because you're bringing that opinionated heat? Is that what's going to happen?
You know what? I don't like to do the same things that other people do. So I'm going to do,
Thank you. Wait, time out. Thank you. Because if you were doing what I did, you would be a threat. You'd be a threat to me. Okay? But thank you.
I don't see myself reviewing, like, any stuff that you review. Like, I feel like if I do something like you do, it would be more like, I'm going to introduce you to this super obscure thing that you would not have access to, that I have access to because I'm from Colombia and all of my friends live in territory and they live in, like, reserves, and like I'm actually in the works with Anti, and I don't even know if I can say it, but I'm going to say it anyways because I do whatever I want.
Say it.
But we are actually figuring out a way that I can have, like, a label under the label.
Yeah, like an imprint, a sub-label, happens all the time.
Yeah, so I don't know if it'll be through Anti or, like, some kind of partnership. And basically they'll give me budget. It's just like, I'm so grateful for my label. Like, I feel like they truly believe in me and they, like, blindly, like, just trust me. Like, it's just like, can you give me, like, this large sum of money so I can go to Colombia and do these videos? But I don't want you to tell me what to do, and I don't want you to give me a deadline. And they're like, yes, how much? So that's wonderful. You know what I'm saying? So, they know they can trust me. It's just like, I curate my shit. Like, I'm on top of it. Like, I'm the woman behind Lido Pimienta. Like, the person behind all of my, it's me, and my standards are, like, super, because I always think about the future and I always think about a legacy for my children. And as someone who's as opinionated, like, I don't, what's the word? Descartar. How do you say that in English? I don't know what the word is. But I don't rule out the possibility that I may not be here tomorrow because of, my political views. It's like, especially, I am a woman. And when you're a woman and you're strong and opinionated and you're a woman of color on top of that, anything that I say that's in form of critique, even if it's substantial, backed up with clear focus, it's like, she's so angry. She loves to fight. oh, she loves to fight. And I'm just like, no, I feel like I'm hilarious and I'm super sweet. The problem is that the package, like it's a short brown girl with this kind of hair, and I don't talk like this, and I don't have like, I'm not, if I was like that, then I would be completely infantilized, so it's like, I don't want people to infantilize me. I already get super infantilized, so I don't want that, so it's like, I have to be the boss, So with this opportunity that my label is presenting to me, like, which is beautiful, I am going to go to Colombia. I want to go to Peru. I want to go to Bolivia. And I just want to so don't worry about me taking you out of business. I don't have the patience to do what you do. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Okay. And I want to give a shout out to chat because they were saying discard, reject. They were there with the translation save there. Really
Gracias.
In response to what you were saying.
Sorry. Bilingual brain.
All right. Let me ask you some questions here. Some of which may just sort of like totally detour from a lot of the music and pop stuff that we've been talking about. Curly Quotes, because that's part of the fun of kind of feeling some of the questions from the audience. Curly Quotes wants to know off the bat, do you have any favorite video games? Are you a gamer at all? Do you play any games? Do your kids play games? That sort of thing?
Yeah. So Mario Kart, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. It's a classic.
The classic. Mr. Driller. It's really cool. And any 80s, any 80s. And with my son, actually, we've been bonding over Five Nights at Freddy's.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fans of that franchise around.
Before kids, I was more into it, but now I just use video games and the screen as, my opportunity to get out of the room so I can do what I need to do.
I think we have a somewhat general sense of this, but just to sort of ask you, because you were kind of glossing over this in a few of your statements previously, but what is your general feel on just cultural appropriation and maybe just the ways in which people currently on social media call it out? Like, does it matter? Is it effective? Like, is it something people should worry about, be concerned about?
I feel like people should absolutely say something about it. I think that the most effective way to get to people is with facts, and with love, I think that people get really worked up. And I think that, just like living in Canada for a little bit over a decade, like I kind of understand the psyche of white people and like this sense of like, guilt that they have, that it's like anytime you want to critique something or you want to support your thesis, like there's like something that boils and then it just ends up in this like back and forth thing that doesn't really serve anyone's purpose. Like I feel like it's not hard to just honor the people that you're taking something from. It's like it's as easy as clearly naming the sample that you take for something and put it there, and then like add their email, their contact, like their website so that people can know about it. Like that's really easy. Like, I don't feel like we're saying like, you're not allowed to do this. What I'm saying is, if you're going to take something, especially, like there's like an obsession with adopting like Black features and like transforming yourself into like a girl from the hood, But when the girl from the hood is herself, like she gets brutalized, So like that's kind of what we're trying to say. It's just like, okay, if you're gonna take this aesthetic and if you're gonna take all this, then your team better be all Black and putting this coin back into their community. That's what I'm saying. Like if you're gonna put the grills on, the baby hairs and the whatever, and the sneakers and the oversized whatever, it's like just know that the people that rep this, they rep it because that's their culture, they get stopped and killed by police, right? Like that's why it's not like it's not envy. It's just that our people are dying, right? So when people are dying, and you're using and mocking their culture, so it's the same thing as when people wear like the headdresses, the native dresses from North America, and like when you wear like a full on like regalia, it's not your culture. You know what I'm saying? And because you are the dominant culture, like that's why we have to call it out. So that's what it is. It's just like, just honor people like you say that you're honoring them by putting a big old check or a big old like infrastructure of whatever that certain community that you're stealing from, what they need. Give them what they need and then do whatever. I mean, it's just like, I always say it, it's just like blonde, skinny white girls with like blue eyes, like with dreadlocks. Like they're the ones that look like a walking mop. Like it's them, not me, like we're just saying like, choices, so like it gets to a point where like, I don't even, stuff like that, it doesn't even bug us. It's just like, okay, like have better choices so that we don't continue to have these problems that are life-threatening to a whole ass community.
Okay. This next question comes from Scarlet Dawn. Seems a little elaborate, but I think you might be able to kind of expound upon this term that they're throwing out there. What do you think about the term Latinidad in the overarching conversation about South America and identity? And does it play a role in your music and the places that you draw inspiration from?
Yeah, I'm into Latinidad way more than Hispanidad because I feel like...
First, give us like some background on that because I'm sort of unfamiliar with that term personally.
So basically, like Hispanidad is like when people refer to people like me or people that are from South America or Central America, anywhere in like Latin America or Pan America, when they say that we're Hispanic, Hispanic comes from the Latin word hispano, or from Spain. So when you say that me, as someone who is so proud to be Black and Indigenous, that I'm Hispanic, you are erasing my indigeneity and you're erasing my Blackness, sure. Right? But that is a term that has been coined and like it's just been normalized in our language, And because we're, Spanish is our first language, but English, for some of us, is our first language. That's just what we know. Like we just like learn by just listening to people, So Latinidad, it comes or it speaks about, being from Latin America. So it's a little bit more accurate, but that also erases Indigenous people, So it's like, but also because we're not a monolith, it's very hard to like have like a word that is going to encompass the millions of cultures that we have in all of South America. Like in Colombia alone, there's like over 500 languages that we speak. It's not just Spanish, It's just like when I go visit my family, I have a lot of family that can't speak Spanish, So, and like all of my relatives, like they all speak with an accent, like because Spanish is not their first language. We've been colonized, So that's why it's so important for us to just try and be more specific because it gives us this sense of pride. And when your community has been brutalized so much, like a lot of the youth, they're like, I don't want to learn this native language. I want to just speak Spanish and hopefully English and like, just like go on these like trap beats because I want to make money, and you can't blame them, So that's what it is. Just like Latinidad is a little bit more accurate, I guess, but it's like, I don't identify myself as that. Like, I just feel like I'm Black and I'm Indigenous, and like that should suffice, from colonized Colombia, from the white territory, So it's like, it's nice to have like just be more specific because it uplifts the people that are coming behind you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next question comes from Sister Booty. Sister Booty's throwing this one at us, good old Sister Booty. As somebody who has lived in two countries with bad track records when it comes to Indigenous relations, how aware are you of the Indigenous music in Canada? And just on the back of that, I'll say personally, as we've been seeing a lot of these Black Lives Matter protests over there have been sort of ongoing disputes between the Canadian government and the Indigenous people of Canada, over land and a variety of other things there. I'm sure you're aware of that to some degree. If you have any comment on that, I mean, throw it out there. But as the question does ask, I mean, are you at all familiar with the Indigenous music scene there, if there is in fact one?
There is absolutely one that's very strong, thriving, and winning. You know, we have people like Tanya Tagak, you know.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
people like A Tribe Called Red. You know, we have people like Melody McIver. We have people like Jeremy Dutcher. You know, that's just 4 people right there. But there's so many groups and different combinations, like from country to rock to experimental music to experimental throat singing to jazz to all kinds of music. Like Indigenous people in Canada are not spoken about. Like the representation in the media, it's so small, you know, and internationally. Like when I still lived in Colombia, I didn't know the Indigenous people here. The idea that I had about Canada was that everything was covered in snow all year round, and then there was like white people skiing. That's what I thought that Canada was, because that's how they present themselves. There's a deer over here and someone in like some ugly ass cover up for skiing, and they're saying A, and they're like taking honey out of a tree. Like that's what I thought that Canada was. And I moved to London, Ontario, and I was just like, you know, walking around just like, I guess I'm going to find out where I take the bus. And then there was like an Indigenous center, da, 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 da. And I'm like, what? And I went in and I was like, what are my cousins doing here? What? And then luckily, you know, like I learned directly from the people, and it's the most like beautiful, loving community, you know, and I've never had any Indigenous, Native, Cree, Haudenosaunee, like any of the tribes here. No one has ever told me, go back to your country. But you know who has? Yeah, exactly. Yes, you need to go and find old, beautiful music right now. Do it right now. Turn off. Just go. Check it.
No, not yet. Because this next person here wants to know if you've been paying much attention this year, because I mean, I'm sure everything's going crazy with your own music and just the insanity of the current, you know, social everything and the pandemic and all that, though you guys are handling it much better than we are, honestly. What is your favorite album of the year so far, if you've been kind of following a lot of the musical exploits of 2020?
My favorite album of the year has not come out yet.
Oh.
It's an artist from Colombia called Meridian Brothers.
Okay,
And
yeah, I'm familiar with them. They're pretty experimental.
Whoa, like they have a song out called La Puya del Empresario. That is my jam. I listen to that nonstop. I cannot wait for that album to come out.
Is that going to be on Soundway or somewhere else? Because I know they usually drop on Soundway.
I think they're with like something called Bongo Joe record. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
But yeah. Meridian Brothers, we've talked about their stuff before, on and off.
Meridian Brothers, everyone go listen to them. That's like, whew, I cannot wait. But yeah, like I've been listening to, I don't know, I listen to a lot of music from all around the world. And like there's this artist that I recommend you listen to, and she's working on an album now. She's from Venezuela. Mm-hmm. You need to listen to Hilanderas. Hilanderas.
Write it down.
She comes from this group called Jóvenes y Sexys, which translates to young and sexy. And Chequi Berto, because it was a duo between Lulu, which is Hilanderas, and Chequi Berto, and his group or his solo project is called Algodón Egipcio, which means Egyptian cotton. So yeah, like music out of Venezuela from people that stayed in Venezuela, and the diaspora, of course, is fantastic. But like I'm very excited about what she's gonna produce, because she's working, you know, in such like, oh, we don't have electricity for the next 3 days, and you're working on an album. Okay, so you're absorbing all of this energy. So I'm very excited. I'm very excited for her. Like my favorite music is not. I haven't met it yet.
You know, quickly, I think this will be an interesting thing to kind of tie up with. You know, considering.
Also, I've been listening to the unreleased album by Bombay Stereo, the next one. I can't tell you the title, but we worked on it together like right before quarantine, and it's amazing. So yeah, 3 albums, 2 from Colombia, 1 from Venezuela. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that actually goes right into my question. Like, with your growing profile, your, appreciation of your contemporaries sort of coming out of a similar scene, a similar place, or a similar level of popularity, however you want to play it or paint it, are there arising more opportunities to collaborate? I know exchanging prior online, you've talked about going back home and collaborating with, more Indigenous artists over there and, incorporating that into either your own music or producing their record. But are there any other artists out there that, might be label connected right now, or maybe a little bit more popular in the scene that, as you just kind of referenced, that might appear on your record, you might be appearing on their record soon, anything like that?
Yeah. I kind of feel like I have more collaborations and songs with other artists than my own. And
keep in mind, you're able to throw out dream collaborations in this question too, if you want to.
Well, right now I'm working with, the album is going to come out soon. It's this band from Colombia. They're called Los Petit Felas. Mm-hmm. So that's going to come out soon. There's another artist from Spain. He goes under Muerdo, which is bite, Muerdo Música. And we have a beautiful song that's going to come out in his album. We just finished recording this song for Ricky Reed. He's mostly known for producing Lizzo's and some of the album. He's like super prolific. And it was funny because I wrote that song as like, oh, this is cute. I hope you give it to someone that can sing it. And he was like, nah, I want it to be you. I'm like, oh, okay. So that's going to come out soon. What else? Is my manager watching this? Can he tell me what I'm doing? Like, John, what am I doing? I would love to collaborate with whoever wants to collaborate with me, like for people to even care about what I have to say. It's such an honor. Like, I always receive it with such surprise and love when people want to do it. Oh yeah, with Damian Taylor, he also like one of Björk's like longest working collaborators. He mixed a bunch of her albums, and he was the musical director, I think, in the Volta tour, and he was the guy that was doing the React table. Mm-hmm. His Twitch is popping. Everyone should go. Is Damian Taylor or Damian Taylor TV, something like that. His Twitch is amazing. And he started this internet super group where like we just send him stuff, and then I send like a little whatever thing, and now it's like an amazing song. So yeah, follow Damian, and yeah, that's at the top of my head. I think there's more stuff. Pretty sure there's more stuff, but I don't remember it now.
Well, when there's more stuff, send it to me, please. Just make me aware of it so I don't miss any of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna make you a playlist. I'm gonna make you artists that you should listen to in South America, so you can like review them and like give them a huge shout out, because I feel like people like you, like you have these huge platforms, and I feel like people are eager to listen to new stuff. And like, yeah, like music in the USA is fantastic. Like a lot of my friends live there and make like helado negro and Zinnia Rubinos, Buscabulla, Balloon. Like, that's just at the top of my head. Like they're all like in Puerto Rico and Estados Unidos, and like that's like amazing, But there's this whole other world of music, and actually I recommend people to go to this blog radio show. It's called Song Mess. Okay. It is mind-blowing. Like if you want to hear like cumbia mixed with trap, mixed with experimental noise, you're gonna from Panama go there. It's like it's so well curated, so well researched, and like there's not a lot of páginas. There's a lot of platforms like that that are showcasing my crew and like people that make music like me. That's more on the experimental side. So yeah.
Well, I mean, I would love to hear that playlist. I mean, it's, whenever I'm running across records like either yours or Natalia Lafourcade's, I mean, I love it. I'm blown away. If I hear something and I love it, I have to talk about it, no matter how well I think it's going to be received with my audience, But I will say it, historically, it is kind of hard to shove a Natalia record down people's throats sometimes, it's because people aren't as receptive to it as I think they should be.
Because it's a body of work, right? Like she's not an artist that it's just like, oh, there's this new artist from Mexico. No, like she has a whole body of work, and like she's like transforming and evolving. And like when you get to her, you truly can do whatever you want. You know, like you're not really concerned about, you know, oh, what my next record gonna be? Are people gonna listen to it? Like, no, girl, we would listen to an album of you like farting if you want. Like, don't worry about it.
And her artistic metamorphosis is so interesting because, like, you know, she started out kind of flirting with that very straightforward kind of indie type of sound, obviously mixing it with, you know, sounds from her own country. But, you know, I mean, her record's kind of a very straightforward indie flair. And then as she hits this mainstream appeal, she's like, we're just doing traditional Mexican music, you know, fuck it. And which I, again, I just think is like such an incredible risk that has paid off for her so immensely.
Yeah. Oh, there's another band that people need to listen to. It's Y La Bamba. Have you reviewed them before? You need to review Y La Bamba. Want to hear like some like heart-wrenching Mexican music. Oh man. And yeah, they're based in the USA, but they're Mexican, and it's beautiful. Y La Bamba. It's like YLABAMBA, like Y La Bamba. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Also, like Reina without Reina instead of a I with a Y. Whew. It's just I'll make you a playlist. And by the way, very good review of Backwash, you know.
Oh.
I don't know, did you give her a 10? I
gave it an 8. Loved it.
When are you going to give someone a 10?
Someone's going to get a 10. I'm waiting for your record, okay? I'm waiting for your record.
Okay, the next one, if I don't get a 10, we're going to have a problem. That would be real beef.
You know, look, I might be tempted just to get you to come down here and fight me. Okay, so don't even tempt me. Don't even tempt me with a threat. But I will say that chat has loved you. You've been an amazing guest. You've been perfect because, you know, you're not only in my view a great musician and, you know, a standout artist, but, you know, at your heart you're very opinionated and you're a music nerd too. And you know, that's exactly my audience. I'm sure there were people who were just like clapping when you were talking about crying to Radiohead, because that's basically my core audience. People who cry to Radiohead, that's like 99% of people who watch me.
Yeah, I really want to do a cover of Airbag.
Okay.
Yeah, I really want to do that. I'm going to do it because I'm going to start a blog on my YouTube called Lido TV, because I can't go on tour. So I haven't really tapped into that, and I have so much to say, and I like make so many things. Why not just keep sharing them and then justify my label keeping me and giving me support? Yeah. So I think I'm probably gonna start doing a cover of any Fear Factory song, and probably a Deftones song, and then Radiohead, and probably a Rihanna song. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. People should tell me what they want me to do.
I know you have your own favorites, but please, Edge Crusher. Edge Crusher. Such a kick-ass.
Wake up the Edge Crusher! Wake up the Edge Crusher! Wake up the Edge Crusher! Wake up the Edge Crusher!
Okay. All right. I think that's more than I could have ever asked for. Thank you so much for being a wonderful guest. This has been amazing. We love you. We're blown away. Chat's blown away. Chat is blown away by that guttural growl. They're blown away.
Yeah, and I can do that, and then I can go like, and then go, and then, I'm blessed. I'm so blessed.
Well, thank you for coming through and blessing us. Lido Pimienta, obviously down in the chat, not in the chat, but in the description box and everything. We'll link you to her social media and review to her new record and everything you need to know. You've been amazing. Thank you very much.
One last thing. Yeah. I have this ongoing GoFundMe.
Okay.
That's called Cabildo, Cuna y Cultura. I'm going to be revamping it, where I'm sending groceries every 2 weeks to traditional Black and Indigenous musicians in Colombia that due to COVID can't go to work. And because traditional music is so humiliating in Colombia, like most of these elders, they have no pension. So they really like live day by day, you know. So I've been able to feed.
Please, tell us the name. Tell us the name one more time and DM it to me too, so we can make sure it makes it onto YouTube.
Yeah, and put it on the link. There's a Cabildo, Cuna y Cultura on my GoFundMe. You can also just go Lido Pimienta GoFundMe and it'll pop up.
Okay.
Every 2 weeks, we're feeding like almost 100 families.
Okay.
Like it goes like a long way. And like I only asked for $6,000 and we haven't even made it to 5,000. And we've been able to consistently feed people, like entire families. Like we're giving them like not just like a little box with like an apple and a granola bar. No, we're giving them like a big thing of rice and eggs and coffee and like all the things they need for those 2 weeks. And then I send the money and then my family helps me out. And like it's been really great, but there's so much help needed. You know, if I had that J Balvin money, this would not be an issue, but I don't. So please help us out. Like a lot of people need this help. So yeah.
Yeah, DM it to me and we'll make sure it makes it onto YouTube too.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
And let me know I was nice. A lot of people were worried about me being mean to you. I kind of love it though.
Next interview, next album, bully me next time. Just bully me next time.
Yeah, let's make what is it? What's the expression? Break the internet.
Yeah, we'll break the internet.